too important. I
People just entering my
that's why she should come from small. You know, this guy.
Just imagine.
It is my pleasure to welcome you all to our second regular quarterly consultative meeting for this year. We are aware that this is a very critical period for you, and we appreciate your presence. Since our last meeting 4 months ago, on 18th January this year, there have been changes in the leadership of at least 7 political parties. Let me therefore welcome the chairmen and secretaries of the Action Alliance, All Progressives Congress, Action People's Party, the New Nigeria People's Party, the National Rescue Movement, the People's Democratic Party, and the Social Democratic Party, who are attending this meeting for the first time in their new capacities. A recent convention also returned the chairman and secretary of the People's Redemption Party. Although they are not here for the first time, I also seize this opportunity to welcome them. This meeting is also the first since the new Electoral Act came into force on Friday, 25th February 2022. It is also our first meeting since the Commission released the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general election over 2 months ago on Saturday, 26 February 2022. Already, all 18 political parties have forwarded the schedules of their primaries to the Commission, and some have commenced the process of choosing their candidates by conducting ward and local government congresses. The period earmarked by the Commission for the conduct of primaries by political parties commenced on the 4th of April 2022, and it will end in the next 24 days from today, that is on the 3rd of June 2022. Twice in the last 2 weeks, the Commission had cause to remind political parties of the necessity for strict compliance with the timelines for party primaries. I hereby reiterate the position of the Commission that there will be no review of the timelines. There are so many interrelated activities that are associated with the timelines which must be carried out. Any review to extend the timelines for one activity will affect other activities and put unnecessary pressure on the political parties and the Commission. This will ultimately result in more complications than what the extension seeks to achieve. Therefore, the Commission will not review the timelines. Working together, we should ensure fidelity to the timelines in conducting transparent and democratic primaries for the purpose of electing candidates for the 1,491 constituencies for which elections will be held on the 25th of February and the 11th of March 2023. In the spirit of working together to comply with the requirements of the law, the Commission has prepared a document to guide political parties in the conduct of primaries and nomination of candidates for elections, including a checklist of the documentation required for successful nomination. The guide is among the documents contained in your folders for this meeting. Similarly, the Commission has prepared a calendar of party primaries for presidential, governorship, national and state assembly seats based on the proposals submitted by political parties as at Friday, 6 May 2022. This document is also contained in your folders for this meeting. As you conduct your primaries and nominate candidates for the election, this is the appropriate time to remind you of your commitment to promoting inclusivity in the electoral process. Women, youth, and persons with disability have been yearning for greater representation, particularly in elective positions. To assure citizens that you are not paying lip service to this commitment, political parties should encourage and facilitate greater involvement of all underrepresented segments of society as candidates for elections. This is the only way we can change the reality of the increasingly low level of representation of these critical segments of society in legislative assemblies in particular and governance of our country in general. Turning to elections, I wish to remind you that the Ekiti state governorship election is holding next month on Saturday, 18th June 2022, while the Osun state governorship election is holding in 2 months on Saturday, 16th July 2022. Section 42 of the Electoral Act 2022 requires the Commission to invite political parties to inspect samples of materials for the election not later than 20 days before the date fixed for the election. In compliance with this provision, we have invited all political parties fielding candidates for the Ekiti state governorship election to inspect the materials on Wednesday, 18th May 2022, at the Commission's conference room, which is this particular hall, at 11 o'clock in the morning. As you conclude your primaries and prepare for the off-cycle and general elections, I urge you to ensure a transparent electioneering process devoid of acrimony and rancor. In doing so, fidelity to internal democracy is critical. Unfortunately, the number of litigations by aggrieved party members challenging the conduct of party primaries so far may exceed the 807 cases on the 2019 general election, in which the Commission was joined by the litigants. In addition, as we all know, the security situation in the country is challenging enough. Do not wittingly or unwittingly compound the situation by the disruptive behavior of your members and supporters during party primaries and off-cycle elections. As we commence our second regular quarterly consultative meeting for this year, I want to reassure our party leaders that while the Commission will remain firm in applying the law, we will continue to provide a level playing field and work with political parties as critical stakeholders in the best interest of our country. Once again, I welcome you all to this meeting. I thank you.
The appreciation and confidence of the entire leadership and members of the 18 registered political parties on the platform of the IPAC in the high level of diligence and single-minded commitment you and your management team have been displaying in the conduct of the onerous assignment of superintending the nation's drive toward having a smooth and reliable, credible and transparent, all-inclusive elections in Nigeria. INEC, under your leadership, has won the confidence of IPAC and all well-meaning citizens, friends of our country, and Democrats around the world as a result of the zeal, courage, and dexterity which have so far hugely resulted in the conduct of elections marked by unprecedented high level of transparency, credibility, integrity, and widespread acceptance. Consequent on our belief in your clear vision, heroic and patriotic intentions, IPAC has on its own part, all along, chosen to remain a reliable partner and a formidable pillar by being consistent in its support and defense of INEC on the series of the administrative reforms and introduction of technology, which in our view are with the noble objectives of further enhancing the efficiency of the electoral process. I'm here once again giving the reassurance that IPAC will remain unwavering and faithful to INEC towards the actualization of our shared statutory and historic responsibility of deepening the roots of democracy in Nigeria. It is within the framework of the enduring bond between the INEC and IPAC in service to the country that all the 18 registered political parties on the platform of IPAC are jointly, without exception, requesting the INEC to consider a slight adjustment to the recently announced timetable and schedule of activities for 2023 general elections. In summary, the General Assembly of IPAC, after an exhaustive examination of the INEC timetable and related issues, arrived at an unanimous decision to request for an extension of 2 months to the deadline of the time frame for the conduct of the party primaries and resolution of conflicts arising from the primaries. By implication, the IPAC leadership is appealing to the INEC to extend the deadline for the conduct of party primaries and resolution of ensuing conflicts from the present INEC given date of 3rd June 2022 to 9th of July 2022. Some of the issues considered by the IPAC General Assembly, which necessitated the call for extension in the time frame of the present INEC timetable and schedule of activities, are based on certain circumstances and developments that have hampered timely and strict compliance by the political parties to the timetable. Some of the constraining developments which we believe were not considered and therefore not factored by the INEC while drawing up its schedule of activities includes the following: the Christian Lenten season and the Muslim fasting in the month of Ramadan, respectively, followed by the celebrations of Easter and Eid al-Fitr Salah, in which the vast majority of party members were involved. The developments inevitably, therefore, greatly disrupted planned activities and programs of political parties, leading to the loss of about 2 weeks out of the allotted time of the timetable. It is also noteworthy that as we speak today, the same disruption has also affected economic activities in this country, that we are witnessing long queues at petrol stations, and that informs this decision why we believe, because of the implications of these disruptions, we believe that the scenario was the scenario of the Salah holidays and the Lenten period, that is the celebrations, where it was the first time that the 2 major events in the Christian and Muslim calendars would be occurring around the period of general elections in the country. The forthcoming gubernatorial elections in Ekiti and Osun states within the timeline of the INEC for the conduct of party primaries were additional remarkable distractions and constraints that obviously affected the political parties, because most of them are understandably preoccupied with preparations for the conduct of the elections. Very pertinently, the IPAC General Assembly regards the time allotted by INEC for the conduct of the party primaries as too short in view of the efforts required by the political parties for effective and scrupulous screening and selection of qualified and quality flag bearers. The significance of a tidy selection of party candidates in the elections comes on the long run with the benefits of minimizing conflicts with all the likelihood of slowing down the electoral process. Relatedly, while the unprecedented large number of aspirants jostling to emerge as candidates of their various political parties in the coming general elections have made the task of screening very cumbersome and demanding, the political parties have also had to be cautious and painstaking in the screening and selection procedures as a safeguard against creating rooms for disruptive incidents of litigation by aggrieved aspirants. In making the request for extension in the INEC stipulated timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general elections, we in the Party Advisory Council are not unmindful of the provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act with respect to timelines in the electoral process. We are, however, of the considered view that our request will not in any way tantamount to an infringement or a breach of any extant laws and provisions. This is because the alterations that we are demanding will not affect the statutory dates already fixed for the conduct of 2023 general elections. We are praying for the slight changes in the timetable for the conduct of party primaries in full consciousness of our position as key stakeholders in the nation's democratic process, and who, at the bottom of it all, constitute not only the greatest beneficiaries, but as the platform of all the registered political parties, were in fact the fulcrum around which the entire system and processes revolve. We should therefore be seen as a body of responsible and patriotic interest bloc with a very high sense of responsibility and commitment to the success of every crucial stage and aspects in the electoral chain. By way of illustration and reinforcement of our position that the request for slight modifications in INEC's schedule of activities is not, as such, without a precedent, I wish to recall the nation's experience in 2019, when in the heat of general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission called for a 24-hour shift in the conduct of a scheduled segment of the exercise. At the end of the day, the postponement neither affected the smooth conduct of that year's entire exercise, nor did it reduce its perception and acceptance by the public as a fair, credible, and transparent election. By the way, I should perhaps also recall that in the 2019 incident referred above, the political parties on the platform of the Inter-Party Advisory Council overwhelmingly and solidly stood by the Independent National Electoral Commission by unanimously supporting the call for a shift in the conduct of the election. That show of solidarity and decision of political parties was informed by their patriotic consideration of the fact that, in the circumstance, taking that course of action was the most rational option in the superior imperatives of democracy, the electoral process, peace and tranquility in the polity. This time around, we're expecting the INEC to regard the quest of the political parties for an extension in timeline for the conduct of party primaries as a decision that is in the ultimate best interest of the nation's democracy, and specifically the smooth and successful conduct of a rancor-free, credible, transparent, free, all-inclusive, and fair elections in the year 2023. Thank you for listening to this.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.